am a Scranton City Councilman. We have Kyle Donahue here, who's also a Scranton City Councilman, and Wayne. What'd you say, Chris?
Start again?
Sure. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. My name is Bill Gaughan. I am a Scranton City Councilman. This is Kyle Donahue we have with us, who is also a Scranton City Councilman, and Wayne Evans, who is a Scranton City Councilman. And the purpose of this idea session tonight is to reach out. We wanted to reach out to the younger community, the younger generation in Scranton. So we sent out invitations to the local high schools and the local colleges and universities, and we wanted to hear from you and your ideas on how you could better the city of Scranton. So just a little background on the idea sessions. Councilman Evans had come up with the idea to hold these sessions to reach out to different parts of the community. So we had a really successful one, I think, when was it, Councilman Evans? A couple months ago?
About 6 months?
About 5 or 6 months ago, where we sat down and listened to the small business community and members of the downtown. So it was really, really informative. So Councilman Evans and I went to the University of Scranton's Student Government Club meeting, and we listened to all of those members, and we have one here tonight, the president. So we wanted to hear from you and listen to your ideas that you have to better the city of Scranton. So this is really an informal meeting. We'll ask you to come up, just state your name, and give us your ideas and tell us what you think. And if Councilman Donahue or Councilman Evans wants to say anything before we get started, they can do so.
Just briefly, the most important thing we have to remember is that none of your ideas are bad ideas, first of all. And what we're hoping is the smaller the idea is fine, because a series of small ideas just may be the next big idea that we have for the city. So whatever you've got, by all means, tell us what you're thinking, and hopefully we can use it. We're looking for things that are doable. That's the most important thing, because we don't want to have ideas that just sit on the shelf. I talked about this a couple weeks ago at City Council. Innovation really is just ideas that are completed, and we want to have ideas that we can complete. So, all right, thanks.
So if anybody wants to come up and speak, Matt, you want to start us off? And just tell us what school you're coming from and what brought you here tonight.
Just go right up here. So my name is Matt Coughlin. I'm from the University of Scranton Student Government. I am the president of the student government at Scranton, and what brought me here is we asked you both to come out because we wanted to deepen our connection with the university and the city community. That's always been one of our pushes, as we do a street soup event which directly comes to downtown and the community area, because we really try to reach out and connect, and that's something unique of us as the University of Scranton and just as a Jesuit institution. So one of my personal pushes that I wanted to do this year was not only deepen our connections with our local community, but with the other Jesuit institutions across the country. So we've really pushed as a national entity to create Jesuit student governments all together as one. So coordinating our pushes and kind of coordinating ideas was the biggest thing for us. So what we did is after we asked you both to come and talk a little bit, we met as a cabinet, and we also asked the rest of our Senate to speak on what was affecting them and what might be the best initiatives for them to go down. So just a few of the items that we brought up, and I brought our minutes from that meeting so that we have a little bit of a summary, was the LST tax is one thing that greatly affects our students, a lot of our work study students. So they're students who generally aren't working necessarily because they want to or have to. It's because they kind of need to, and they need that sense so that they have some ability to use that. And it's one thing that kind of universally affects them, and it's each of the students that does end up working kind of gets hit by it, and they don't realize it until after the fact, usually when it racks up a decent chunk of their paycheck, and then they realize afterwards, like, oh, what happened? So that's just one area that came up. We don't know what you all can do about it with a sense of helping us or maybe getting the word out or understanding that process, but that's one aspect that would really help us. Another idea that really came up was the arts district. So we had talked a little bit during the meeting about the train connection and some of the issues with the train, but more just redeveloping that again, because a lot of the students look for different activities. So the dine-in movie theater that opened and then closed, students got really excited about that because they always look for those closer options. So our programming board hosts a lot of events where they transport students to the movie theater or they host movies on campus. So any way for that to be eased or made it easier for even the arts district at any sense of linking up us with them and you guys helping us in the sense of really just developing that connection would be massively helpful. Our programming board always looks to have events where students can get into the community more. So it's not just bringing them into Dixon City or just surrounding areas, but bringing them downtown. So if you guys have those abilities to connect us more with the movie theater or any of the other locations down here, that's where our programming board really seeks for student help. The other ideas that we generally moved from there on was the student discount areas where we saw assistance. So Garrity's offers its student discount. That's where a lot of our students go shopping because of the discount. They really appreciate that. So any ability for you all to assist us in that. The other large area that came up of topic was student internships. So some of our business programs work with the local community to write proposals and business proposals, but even extending that into the policy areas. So we're developing our humanities center is really growing of late, and that extends into the pre-law program and things such as that to work with the downtown area and integrating student internships. For you guys, we know that you have some internships you offer, but even continuing that process so that when students do look for policy internships, they can directly turn to city council, if that's with departments, if that's with you guys, if that's with anybody specifically, students would love that. We have a variety of different funding options that students look forward to and looking to work with, that they would love to work for the city, and we try to better connect them as best we possibly can, but we also try to see what we can do with the best to support them. Another item that they asked me to talk about was a little bit of the kiosk idea. So we brought that to the student body and asked them, kind of ran a little bit of talks with students and saw what their advice may be. And the kiosk idea, students generally seemed, I guess, not taken back. I would say more that they didn't know if they would use the kiosks as much, just because students generally use their phones a lot more. So we've transitioned more to social media apps and away from a lot of the physical stop locations. So students really liked the idea of seeing city events on some integrated platform online so that they could better tie into that. So they know activities such as the Italian Fest and items such as that are huge events for students. That is one of the biggest events that we see that we advertise personally because students love those festivals that go on downtown. Overall, the general idea was that students wanted to find ways to get downtown more often. And if that meant any way of connecting local businesses with other communities, so what other schools might do is they have community nights or downtown nights where it's almost like you can go between different restaurants and they offer kind of like a package deal where you could go to one stop location and then you might pay like $20 for the night and you could go through different restaurants and try different samplings of each. As a lot of first year students that come to us, their parents and them try to really figure out places downtown that they enjoy. So that's only through word of mouth for us, but even running events such as that, like the first Friday nights, students love those nights. So even finding different alternative options for some of the downtown businesses to show the different food locations would be really helpful in our accord. That was what our Senate kind of brought back from us, and I just wanted to relay to you guys, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. Now, what year are you in at the University of Scranton?
I'm a senior.
Okay, and you're president of the Student Government Club, right?
Yes.
And then what do you want to do when you are finished with the University of Scranton?
My goal is to apply to law school, so I'm in the process of applying right now and go to law school and debating working in the public sector after that.
Now, just so you've been in Scranton now for a couple of years at the University of Scranton, so just out of curiosity, would Scranton be a city as a young person that you would consider moving back to since you've been here a few years? And if so, can you explain why? And if not, what would be things that might be lacking in the city that you might want to be included so that could pull you back in so maybe that you would stay here and work here and maybe raise a family here?
One of my favorite experiences, I interned at the Federal District Court with Judge Mannion, and that would be one of the reasons why I would come back. Especially getting to work for the court and just seeing all the day-to-day stuff with the Federal District Court was a tremendous learning experience, and even getting to intern down in D.C. this summer and coming back, I do love the day-to-day aspect of working in the federal area, especially around here, because it's such a small, close-knit area that you get to know everybody in the office, and you get to know that would be one area I would love to come back, and if I got to clerk at the Federal District Court, that would be amazing. I think for me to move back, for having to go to law school, there's not really law schools in the area, so I would have to go home and go to law school and then come back. And I would say that the only draw that would be to not come back is just to have, I like policy areas, so going into being able to develop policy on a federal level, and I don't know how much federal activity goes on besides the district court. So being able to work and clerk at the district court would be amazing. But to get the policy experience and a lot of the day-to-day integration of policy. I don't see that much at the U. So it either would be coming to the city council or going to the federal district court, but more to get the administrative side. That's just my interest area. Falls more into working in the public sector, working in general counsel for a senator or representative, however that works necessarily.
And one of the things that you brought up was a app that students would have on their phone. I think, and I could be wrong, but part of that kiosk project is to create an application that the city of Scranton would have so that university students, anyone in the city really, could download on their phone, and then that would connect to there'd be a way that you could connect that to the kiosk. So that is something I think that is being worked on now, and hopefully we'll be able to unveil that within the next couple of months.
Yeah,
'cause I
that's
think
definitely true.
important.
That's how the system works. I mean, what you're going to see in the kiosk is basically just a gigantic iPad, and it's visual, so people see what's going on the street. But you'll definitely have an app that'll be almost identical to what's on the kiosk.
Now, does the university have an app that students use?
They just rolled out a new addition to the app, so they've been working with our student government to try to get as many up-to-date features. So they've been looking to add more features to the app, integrating our New York Times. How we advertise events is students get a weekly email of what we call Royal Weekends, and that's how we send out every activity that's going on campus for the next week. There's also Royal News that we send out, but we don't necessarily integrate. So larger festivals, so the Italian Festival gets built into Royal Weekends for us, so students get reminded in an email. But some of the other events we really don't integrate as well because we might not be aware of them to integrate them in. So our director of technology sends out the email every single week that integrates what events are going on that students would be interested in, and we kind of sort through what events and when they are and occurring. The big target for us is always late night events, so events that occur between 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. to get students an alternative to going out during the weekend. So that's our target area where we generally program and we try to get student interest and awareness out. And even nights out, like the Italian Festival, are nights where students go to that, and we try to push that as our late night events for students to have an alternative at night. They generally do use the app to look at these things, but the students are still transitioning from the old app to this new one that was created. So the first year students, I think, have like almost 80% to 90% of the class has downloaded it and uses it. So they're just trying to get more students on board with the new application. We can integrate as much as we want with them and a little bit with suggestions. So including some of the city's announcements and events that we can try to build into the application. I imagine our IT department would be more than happy to work with us.
Yeah, that would be really good. And the other thing that you mentioned was the student internships, and this is something that I'm extremely interested in because I think that we should use the University of Scranton and all of the brain power that we have in our local colleges and universities. And obviously there's interest, and I think there is a desire from this council to try to create some sort of internship program where students, if they're in political science or the student government club, could come down and intern in our office or in one of the other offices in City Hall. So, and the other thing I want to mention to you too is I think that I think we talked about this the last time we met, but I think it would be beneficial if we kept the lines of communication open between the University of Scranton Student Government Club and our City Council, our legislative branch. So maybe we could meet once every few months and just touch base. I think that would be really good. But we really appreciate you coming and stopping by. And does anyone have questions for Matt?
Yeah, first of all, Matt, thank you for coming and bringing those ideas with you and representing your council. The internship, I think we've talked about that for quite a while, and I think it's incumbent on us to actually step up and do it. So I think this is going to make it I think we're going to make it happen sooner than later, so we appreciate that and the interest of the students show. And naturally, we want to see more integration between the university and the downtown. So we'll talk to Scranton tomorrow about some of those issues with the discounts, and if they can talk to some of the business owners and see if we can expand that program a little bit more and make sure that everybody in the university knows about it, maybe via an app, some way like that. As far as the arts, of course, we have to do a better job. A lot of things happen downtown. The Fringe Festival. Let me ask you this question: Do some of the students at the university attend the Fringe Festival? Is that something that you're aware of? That is something that on campus they know about?
I would say my general awareness of it is I haven't heard too much about the event. I know what's more bigger for us is there's art nights, so Scranton art nights are where we kind of see it, but that's where some students go out to, but the highest degree of student turnout is generally for the larger food festivals, just we're college students that really like food. So
La Festa and First Fridays and the Art Festival, things like that. Okay. But we have to do a better job, obviously, connecting the university to that, and also connecting the campus. I mean, now that the campus is across Jefferson Avenue, it's in downtown for all intents and purposes, so we have to make sure that that connection is vibrant, and we get the students walking down Linden Street right into our downtown, and whatever we need to do that, because that's an untapped, I should say untapped, it's certainly tapped, and not to the degree we think it needs to be. So we want to keep on promoting that as well.
The other thing I want to mention too, because I don't think the city, I've said this before, I don't think we need to recreate the wheel. So I think what might be interesting, if you go back to the representatives at in your student government, most of the students from the university are from New Jersey and New York, correct, in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, the general chunk is predominant Pennsylvania, then New York and New Jersey.
So what I think would be really interesting is if we could find out what type of innovative things your cities and your towns and your boroughs are doing in, like, where you came from before you came to Scranton, and maybe what you would like to see the city do that has been successful in your hometowns. Because I always think it's interesting to see what other cities across the country are doing, and that's actually how we got some of the ideas that we've been able to implement. One of them, Councilman Evans and I and Councilman Donahue are working on, is See, Click, Fix. So it's this app where you would be able to report problems throughout the city, and I think it's a really great idea, and that came from other cities doing it. So I think that'd be pretty interesting if that's something that you guys could come back with.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to. We will meet all the other Jesuit colleges and universities in January for kind of like all the presidents of those different universities are coming together of their student government groups. So we planned on putting this on the docket for one of our items of discussion for what their home cities are able to do that they work with the university. Definitely to bring back to you guys, because we felt getting what those other institutions are able to integrate with, and a lot of them do things from service bases to employment opportunities that they're integrating, and we kind of wanted to get a more detailed picture so that when we do come back to you guys in the spring, we can kind of hand over, here's what a lot of the other schools are doing with their local cities, so that it gives you a more detailed picture besides just what we see. It's what other schools kind of are able to achieve as well.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Matt, thank you so much. Appreciate
thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. Abby? Hi, Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby Walsh. I'm a senior at Holy Cross in Dunmore, but I live in Southside. So basically, I'm going to kind of echo what he said in terms of an internship program. Obviously, college internships are great, but it would also be cool to have some sort of high school internship. I know I did an internship at the Lackawanna Historical Society over the summer, and it wasn't hard for them to set that up. So it's not super hard with high school students either. So that could provide an opportunity for students to become aware of their local government and involved, and see if they want to go into political science in college. The only other really idea that I had was the arts program downtown is a really big deal, but 10 to 12 years ago, there's a much bigger music scene. My brother is in a pretty big local band, Tiger Straw. He's currently touring in Australia, and he really attributed a lot of his early success to small venues that were downtown, like Test Pattern and different things like that. And a lot of those have gone away, and it might be important to think of some ideas to get those kind of things back for local and up and coming musicians, and also just to concerts are a really big deal to young people. I don't know, a lot of kids in my class love going to concerts, so thinking of some way to bring that into downtown.
The county used to do a program where they had music on the square almost every week, and I'm not sure if they do that anymore. And that was a great opportunity for new artists starting off to, come downtown and play for the lunch hour or wherever it might be. So we'll have to look back into that and see if there's something the city can do as well.
And I think they used to have Battle of the Bands. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do remember that, because my cousin was in a band, and that brought out a ton of young people, and then they went to the different restaurants. And
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting. Now, Abby, does Holy Cross have a government club?
We have a student council.
Student council?
Yeah.
Okay. So you would like to see, similar to Matt, an internship program where maybe different representatives from the high schools could come and maybe, find out how local government works, and then do some things in the office and
Yeah.
set up a program like that. Okay, very cool. Anybody have anything for Abby? Okay. Abby, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So just to kind of recap, we got some great ideas. We had 2 representatives here, one from the University of Scranton and one from Holy Cross. And I think we will have more of these idea sessions with representatives, hopefully more representatives from some other high schools and universities and colleges in Scranton. But we, if you could see us feverishly writing notes here and taking down what you said, we are going to take it and discuss it and hopefully implement some of your ideas, one of which I think would definitely be beneficial would be the student internship in City Hall. I think that would be a great program. One of the issues I think is that some of our young people maybe aren't so engaged with our local government, and it's not so much the younger generation's fault, but maybe it's our fault for not trying to engage you more, and that's one of the reasons that we got together tonight. So I think the internship program, if we can promote that and get it out to the high schools and colleges and universities, I think that could be successful. The other thing, and Councilman Evans and Councilman Donahue will tell you that we've all been promoting this really since we got on council, was the idea of an app. I think almost everyone I know has a cell phone, an iPhone, and I think that we're trying to get City Hall to be more proactive and to be more engaged with its citizens, and I think we can use technology to our benefit. So we're going to definitely try to do that. And then we're definitely going to take your ideas about downtown and everything you said there into account as well, because I think there's some beneficial things there. And also, I'll reiterate the fact that I don't think we need to recreate the wheel, and I think Councilman Evans and Councilman Donahue will tell you that when we've had these idea sessions, some of these ideas that people have come up with are pretty simple. They're small ideas, as Councilman Evans would say. They can turn into and lead into bigger ideas. So I think, 1,000-mile journey begins with the first step, and we're really appreciative of you coming tonight and taking time out of your night to be involved. So I want to thank you. Councilman Evans or Donahue, you want to end with anything?
I just would echo the same comments. We thank you for coming, first of all, and sharing your ideas. And what I loved about what we heard tonight were they're all doable ideas. We're not reaching for pie-in-the-sky ideas, so I think they're all something that we can make happen. The internships are unique because there's 2 perspectives: the university perspective, which is a college perspective, which is one type of internship, and the summer internship for high school students, which I think is even another opportunity. So I think we have some really good things to work with tonight, and hopefully we'll, again, it's not any good unless we complete them. So we have to complete the ideas that we get, and when we do that, then we have some innovation going. So that's all I have.